Okay, so we're going to take a quick look at how we can lay out our projects. This is where things get really exciting. So start a new project and press the Create a New Project button. Select the blank project template and select some type of a title for your project and type it in there, anything you want, and click the Create Project Now button. Now in our project, our original image was 500 by 200 pixels, and you can get your source files off the training CD if you like. So let's go to Project, Window Settings, and reduce our size by typing 500 into the width field and 200 into the height field. Once you've done that, go ahead and press OK. As you can see, that shrunk our project size down. Now let's all go to View, Workspace Layouts, Compact, so we're all looking at the same thing. Alrighty, here we go. So let's reduce our window size by double-clicking the title bar, and we're going to go to our content that we got earlier here. And again, you can get this off the CD if you'd like, but I'm going to take mine off the desktop. I've dragged the tracer image onto the stage, and it's asking me if we would like to make it the background, which we would. So we'll click Yes, and we'll click the button and drag it onto the stage as well. Okay, let's go ahead and maximize our window, and we'll start working with the button. So we've got our layout from Adobe Photoshop on our tracer image, and we're ready to just sort of mimic that with the buttons. In this case, I want to change the button text to sort of look like the text that's over here. So I'm going to expand my font area of my Properties dialog and open it up a bit. Now I'm going to change the family to something with a serif, say Times New Roman, might work good. And I'm going to reduce the size by 1 point and change the text to match one of our buttons. This is the layout technique I use most often for most projects. It's really quick, and it allows you to really get moving. Like I was saying earlier, you can sketch this out by hand on a cocktail napkin even, and scan it in and use that as your tracer image, and it makes layout a breeze. So let's change the font color to black, and I'm going to go ahead and take the bold function off and set the offset by 1. Okay, it doesn't look perfect, but it's good enough to get started. Actually, I'll take the size down by 1 more. There we go. It's good enough to get started. So I'm going to take this button and I'm going to lay it over our tracer image. Now, no matter how many objects you would have on your tracer image, it could be video objects and flash objects and panels and logos, the principle applies. Just take the object, duplicate it in AutoPlay Media Studio, and apply it to the tracer image so that it lines up. Later, when we remove the tracer image, our project is going to be perfect and ready to go. So now I'm going to click on this button, and I'm going to use the Control-D shortcut to duplicate that button. So I'm going to press it 1, 2, 3, 4 times to create 5 total buttons. Now, since we have an automatic align and distribute feature in AutoPlay Media Studio, you just need to line up the bottom and top buttons. And you don't even need to line them up horizontally, you just need to line them up vertically. So you can do that by eye and use your arrow keys to tap around. And once you've done that, you can select all your buttons, and we'll go to View, Toolbars, Alignment. Okay? And we're going to click that, and it's going to pop open this toolbar here with some alignment and distribution tools. Just like all the other toolbars and panes, you can rip it off, move it around, dock it, undock it, redock it, anything that makes you feel comfortable. I'm going to leave mine up top here. So to distribute these buttons, we're going to click on this Distribute Vertical icon, and you see what it just did? It distributed them vertically so they would be equally spaced. It's really handy to do that automatically. And finally, we'll select all our buttons again here, and we'll click on the Align Center Horizontal, so it aligns them up that way. So we're basically done, actually, our layout in this particular case for this particular button set. So let's go ahead and in our we'll double click our title bar here, and in our content area, in this case our desktop, I'm going to select the background image and replace that tracer image by dragging this background image onto the stage and answering yes when it asks us if we want to set it as a background. Now the tracer image is gone. We don't need it anymore. It's basically garbage. If we move our buttons over, can see there's no buttons behind there anymore. I'll just move them back. And we've got our background image in there, and basically we're ready to go. In this particular case, as you know from our planning stage, our project is going to be 3 pages long. So we need to add 2 pages. The way to do that is to go to the Page menu, Add, or use the shortcut of the Insert key. So I'm going to go ahead and go Add, and Add. In this particular case, it just creates new pages. It doesn't duplicate what we had on page 1. That isn't really what we wanted to do. We would rather just duplicate what we had. So to make this a lot easier, I'm going to go ahead and remove those pages now by pressing Ctrl-Z twice to undo what we did. And instead I'm going to go to Page Duplicate. But I wanted to show you guys that Page Add feature so that you could be clear on the difference between the two. Okay, so let's go to Page Duplicate, and we'll do it again. And we've got our 3-page project laid out. We've got our pages done, we've got our buttons laid out, and we've got our background image added. So basically we're finished laying out our project. That's how quick it took. It's quite amazing how fast you can get things done in AutoPlay Media Studio. Now if we were doing this for real, we would probably change our button text first before we duplicated the pages. That way the buttons would be correct throughout. But I just wanted to finish this lesson by duplicating the pages so that you could be very clear on how we do that. Okay, the last thing I want to point out about layout techniques is white space and negative space. And I'm not going to go in depth into it, but we're going to just touch on it. White space is this area around the edges here and between the button bar and the screen. It's important to have margins and white space because it increases readability and visual pleasantness of your layout. So try to leave a little bit of space between everything. Don't clutter everything up and don't put things right up against the edge of the page. If you do that as a rule, you get a much nicer look to your projects. And the second principle I wanted to touch on is negative space. So for example, if you have a lot of clutter in one area of your screen, such as we have with the button bar and logo here, you want to have another area of the screen that's wide open to offset that, and it creates visual balance, and it actually creates a really nice dynamic contrast, and it creates interest in your page. So for example here, by having the wide open screen to offset the button area, you can see that the page itself is very, very balanced, and I think it should be pretty obvious to you guys how that sort of works. So that's layout techniques, and we're going to go on to the next lesson.